Today I will center myself by breathing deeply for 5 minutes. Relax. Let yourself become still. Your body is at rest. Focus on your breath. Become aware of your natural breath rhythm. Observe the soft intake of breath and the gentle exhaling. Notice the air coming into your body, the short pause, the air easily leaving your body, and the short rest before you feel the need to breathe again. Your lungs filling and emptying, filling and emptying. Continual refreshment and nourishment of your body. The soft breath of life. When you feel ready, breathe a little more deeply. Continue to breathe deeply at your own pace, tuning into the needs of your body. Breathing in relaxation, letting out tension, centering yourself. Breathing in the new, releasing the old. refreshing yourself. Drawing in the present, releasing the past, centering yourself. Oxygenating your body, cleansing your body, energizing yourself. Resting your mind, balancing your mind, nurturing yourself. Centered, calm, relaxed. Now, take in a deep breath and let it out. Take in another deep breath. Let it out. And one more deep breath in and let it out.
Good evening and a warm welcome, everyone. And thank you so much for making time to attend this workshop tonight, as we will be exploring the topic, Experience a Safe Space Within. My name is Lebongo Malo, and here with me I have Sister Pratibha, who is a facilitator and a teacher for the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. And Sister Pratibha has been doing this for over 35 years, Sister Pratibha. So as we all know that the month of August is dedicated to us as women, and it is a time of the year where we unite and celebrate ourselves as in Bogota. So because of the fact that we are naturalists by nature, we constantly have a need to create an inner space that will unleash our potential as mothers, as sisters, as colleagues, and as friends. So this workshop today is going to help us to tap into that inner sanctuary that we possess within. And it is brought to you by the Brahma Kumari South Africa. So I am going to share, for those of you who are actually joining in for the first time, I need to tell you much about the Brahma Kumari South Africa. But Sister Pratibha, if you can allow me to change things a bit, I'm going to share my story about how did I get to know about the Brahma Kumaris, so that if maybe you can resonate with the story, possibly that can actually tempt you to look into the website and have a look at the Brahma Kumaris offering. So in essence, my story can actually tell you much about what we do, and then you can be able to look for that for yourself. So coming back to my story, I remember there was a time in my life when everything was just crumbling down. I got retrenched from work, and a few weeks later, I started feeling sick, very sickly. I think some of you might know about this story. So, like it's been not been working, and now I'm not feeling well. I just had to consult with the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me that I'm pregnant. And I'm like, oh my God, this shouldn't be happening. How can this happen when I've just lost my job, and now this is happening? And like I was so frustrated. Then I was at home and sitting and not doing much. And then my two kids at the time came back from school. And when they got back from school, they gave me a letter. And when I look at the letter, I was with my husband at the time. The letter was saying that the kids have been expelled from school because we were not paying school fees. Obviously, because of not paying, the kids were now expelled from school. So, like at that point in time, I felt like my whole life was just shutting off. Like I didn't have much control of what was happening. And I remember there was a day when I was actually watching TV, the kids were there, and I was just lazing about watching TV. And I don't know if you remember the topic, the show that was done by Nolene, it was Nolene at 3 Talk. So it was on SABC 3. And during that time, there were two guests, and the topic was how to remain peaceful even during turbulent times. So, and then I looked into that, and I'm like, how do you connect the two? Like, I'm not peaceful at the moment. And how do I even actually create that space of peace during these hard times? Then I had to listen to what they were going to be saying. So there were two guests at the time. So the gentleman who was there, he actually shared his story, but I couldn't connect to what he was saying. And then there was this other lady, the sister who was there. When I looked at her, she actually showed so much of contentment. Her whole aura was all about peace. Her face, her smile, her eyes. I was just drawn to her by like her whole existence. And then she started smiling, and then she said, yes, it is true that you can remain peaceful even during hard times. And the name was there, Sister Gianti, and the name of the organization, Brahma Kumaris. And then Sister Gianti started sharing a story about a man who lived in Rwanda. And then this gentleman was sharing a story to Sister Gianti, saying that there was a time in Rwanda when there was a war, like it was a civil war. And he remember this one day he was told that, oh, the people there were told that they need to evacuate their houses. They just need to run off because troops from the other camp were coming to invade their area, their space. So they had to flee off the place, the space, and running, frantically so. So as they were running and actually moving away and looking for a space of shelter, the man decided to stop. And as he stopped, he looked back from where he actually came from. And as he was looking there, he saw that like everything that was happening, it was so horrific. It was terrible, where he actually realized that people were still running, screaming, there were gunshots happening. And he immediately froze and went into like a space of, like as if he was in a trance, and he lost it. His body just shut off. And during that time, he felt something that was happening within. It was as though he actually tapped into a space of peace. He felt so much peaceful and, in a serene space that he didn't even understand, but it was just a momentary thing. And then he snapped out of it. And as he snapped out of it, he realized that the war was still happening. But then that gave him an indication that even though things were happening out there, there is an inner space that existed within himself that he knew about before he didn't even know about it that it existed, but now he understood that there is this inner world that allows you to feel a space of peace. That's when he started finding out about meditation, and he also got to know about the Brahma Kumaris. That's when he started meditating. And Sister Jayante then took us through the whole meditation experience. And even I myself, when she was actually giving that commentary, I was actually feeling as though something was just being lifted off my shoulders. Then I started knowing about the Brahma Kumaris. I got to know, to get the numbers and phoned, and then I started with the meditation, experience with them. So in essence, all I'm saying is the Brahma Kumaris are people that, or is an organization that can actually allow you to know much about meditation. And then you can just visit the website and look everything about the organization. So now that we know about the BKs, we can start with the workshop. Myself and Sister Prativa will take you through the methods that will take you into that inner space that the gentleman felt when he actually lost it. And then we will be able to take you through that whole experience. So the workshop is brought to you by the Brahma Kumaris, and then you can just visit the website. And now that you know everything, I'm just going to hand over to Sister Prativa, who will be talking to us about balance and security. So Sister Prativa, please explain to us about balance and security.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening session. Lebo and myself have planned this evening in such a way that it's going to be very experiential. So not much talk from us, but there are a series of exercises we have planned for you. And the idea is more to experience it rather than to just talk about it and listen about it. So that's our aim this evening. But just to start off, when we talk of a safe space within, there are two elements that really play a powerful role in creating that internal safe space. And one is that feeling of balance. And balance is a tricky one. I think for many of us, it's something that we do struggle. We struggle with taking care of ourselves and taking care of others. We struggle with balancing work life with family life, with leisure. So many aspects we feel we are pushed and pulled. But we know that the secret to balance is not about trying to equalize things, but it's about getting centered. That's what it is. And when I get centered, then it's almost like I find my own inner anchor internally. And when I connect with that anchor internally, then what happens is that I allow things to flow around me without it pushing and pulling me. So it's a bit like when you're walking on a tightrope. They always say, look straight ahead and stay internally balanced. If you look around too much and up and down, you can't maintain that balance. So it's about focus and remaining centered internally. For me, sometimes I like using the word integration more than balance, because I feel life is about opposites. There are moments where, you need to be entertaining and light, and there are moments where you need silence and introversion. There are moments when you need to be very active and engaging, and there are moments where you have to be reflective and you need to listen. There are moments where you have to express yourself, and there are moments where you need to observe the self. So life is about opposites. And it's almost in a way that when I can learn to integrate the opposites within me, that then I can feel that sense of internal balance and centeredness. But if we try to equalize things, that's when I feel that it doesn't quite work in a way. So balance is one aspect. And when I feel that kind of internal integration and centeredness, it comes across very much as really a feeling of deep inner security, because that inner space of safety is actually an inner space of security. So we're going to explore today, how do I connect with that internal space of centeredness so that I can feel secure and safe. And a lot of our reactions to things around us um, are almost directly related to what extent am I feeling secure. When I'm insecure, then I'm very sensitive and reactive to what's happening around me. If someone says something or someone doesn't say something, or if something happens in a particular way or whatever the case may be, it pulls my attention a lot. But when I'm internally secure, then I find that the spiritual ability then to be the observer and to respond to situations naturally emerges. So that deep internal security is like a key element within us so that we can remain stable, but also we can then choose the place from which we respond. So not letting fear be the base from which I react to things, but letting love and peace be the foundation from which I can then respond to things. So we all have it within us. And I loved the story that Lebo shared, that in the midst of such a chaotic moment, such a frightening moment, this individual found that spot in himself of being secure, of being safe, of being at peace. So it's in each one of us, but it's about connecting it, nurturing it, and making it accessible to us. And so certain practices are what helps us to make it accessible to us. So yeah, we're going to explore this aspect and how to connect with it. And I'm going to now invite Lebo to take us through a few exercises to help us discover that inner spot in different ways. Okay, Lebo.
Thank you, Sister Pratibha. So I am going to take you through the whole process, and your participation will be highly appreciated in this. It's not going to be very hectic. It's just going to be very simple exercises. But then I would like for you to participate in this. And I'm hoping that if maybe you can have a pen and paper in front of you, or if you don't have that, that is still okay. So now think of the level of stress that you are maybe experiencing right now. What is your level of stress at this moment? It could not be at this present moment, because now it could be that like you had to log into this webinar or this workshop and then you're feeling okay. But think of like a situation that is troubling you, or perhaps a relationship that is in conflict, or maybe a challenge that you are faced with. And these kind of circumstances are creating sort of like an imbalance within you. So when we think of those situations, what is your level of stress? 0 being low, like my level of stress is very minimal, and going up to 10, 10 being the highest. 10 is the highest. What is the measure that you're thinking of when you think of your level of stress with any situation that you could be experiencing? I'm just going to give you about a few minutes or seconds to think of what is it, where you position your level of stress at this point in time. Okay. So I think we know ourselves, so you can actually connect to that immediately. So inner focus. Think of a thought that creates an imbalance within you. What thought creates and imbalance within me when they come to mind. I can make an example. I remember there was a time when my brother passed, and even when I'm at work, working and doing my own thing, when that thought came to mind, instantly I would feel like a knot in my throat or in my stomach. And that thought created so much of emotional turmoil within myself. So just think of a thought that creates that sort of imbalance within you. Okay. So now that you have established situations or a thought that creates you, that actually create an imbalance feeling within you, maybe a feeling of anxiety, or it could be like you feel frustrated when you think about that kind of a thought or that kind of a situation. Keep that in mind as we will be doing these kind of exercises. So when we do these exercises, I would request that everyone stand. So stand up. We can actually show the exercises. So when you are standing, just stretch your right leg and lift your left hand, sort of like it should be, opposite sides. Your leg and your hands, one lifted and one lifted as well. And you are still standing though, but you have your leg stretched and your hand also lifted up. Okay. I'm hoping that you are finding a balance while doing that. You can now switch your legs. And now your left leg stretched and your right hand lifted up. So while doing that, I'd like one person, just one person, to tell me that were they able to still feel balanced when they were doing that? One person to unmute if maybe you have done the exercise, and just tell me that you were still balanced when doing that exercise.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
The one side was very difficult. The other side was much easier.
Okay. Okay, then. So can we have another person as well again to share that experience, whether they could balance?
Om Shanti. Yeah, the one side was really hard and the other side was really easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. So one person, can you kindly maybe unmute and tell me the two experiences, they were uneasy, granted, but they were still standing. If one person can unmute and tell me that why they didn't fall, like why they were still standing, it wasn't easy, but then they were still standing. Could one person unmute and tell me?
I think we still have control of our hands and legs, and our brain is still functioning reasonably well for us not to fall over. I think if you were a kid and you were trying it, you probably would, but I mean, we have much experience in life to keep us on our feet if the situation arises just to be on one feet.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That's so true. We didn't fall because of the fact that we can still keep the balance, even though it wasn't easy, because we can actually see everything. So now we are going to explore one last exercise where we are going to close our eyes and stand on one leg. And with the other leg, you can just simply create a circle with your leg. It won't come easy, I can promise you that. But maybe if you can just maybe try and see the possibility if that is actually happening. Just a few seconds, just stand up and then close your eyes and stand on your one leg and then create a circle with the other leg, or you can even hop and see if that is going to be possible at all. And then, so one person to tell me what could be happening at this point in time when we are having your eyes closed. Did that ever happen that we actually did that without even, creating an imbalance within you? Tell me, like just one person unmute and tell me, how was the experience?
Hi, for me, it wasn't difficult because we do this quite often in yogic practice. So I found it wasn't difficult for me. So
okay.
It's
so
part of our
one
yogic practice to do that.
Great stuff. I'm happy with that. Please keep that in mind. If there's any other person who struggled a bit, I'd like that example that the lady that just actually gave what the experience is all about. Because of the experience of the practice that she's having, it wasn't difficult. And the other person?
Yes, I'm Lakshmi. Because I do Pilates and yoga, so I was able to stand on one foot and, I was able to do that. Thank you.
Great stuff. The second person doing Pilates and yoga, they could actually be able to stand up and they were stable. So the other experience might be that you are trying to do that, you lose control. So I've got a person say, I could not keep, like the other person is saying that I couldn't, they couldn't do it at all. So then it means that the whole experience for them was not, like they couldn't keep their stability. So now we are done with the physical exercises. Thank you so much for participating in that. So these exercises are showing us that when things are okay, when we had our eyes are opened, we're seeing everything. There was like in a situation that was creating an imbalance. You were not standing on your 2 feet or your 2 legs, but still there was no balance. You were not balanced, fully balanced, but you didn't fall. You were still standing. So meaning that in life presents itself that when our external support is existing, when we see our external support, even when things are not okay, we are still okay because I still get my salary. I still call my mom to asking her if maybe she can come over and look after the kids. So the external support is there. So I still feel like everything is still okay. However, we had the second experience where we had to close our eyes. And when we closed our eyes, we sort of like felt confused because now you can't see much that is happening. There was that imbalance still, but there was a bit of confusion that was happening. So the balance was not as strong. So in real life, what is happening is when everything is taken away from us, our external support, if it gets taken away from us, that will lead us to feeling sort of imbalanced. We don't know what to do. We feel so lost. We feel like we need like something that we can hold on to because now I'm no longer getting my salary, the salary that I used to get. Like now there's a pandemic, people are losing their lives and people are losing their fathers, people are losing their husbands. So they feel so lost that their external support, the support that they had, is no longer there. So they don't know what to do anymore. So now, this is the reason why we had to do that exercise. You need to find your stability from within. As when the eyes were closed, the 2 ladies mentioned that because of the practice, they managed to find their stability. They managed to find a space where they can actually create that state of balance. And that was coming from within. So we all need that where you know that when things are falling apart and I don't have much control over what is happening, but I have that sanctuary that I can tap within and go into. So now this is what the whole workshop is all about. Can we have that person to mute? Thank you. So the whole workshop will take us through the whole experience of how do I, even though things are falling apart in the external world, I still find my inner space, my inner peace, I sentence myself so that I can have that clarity. And that clarity will allow me to think, will allow me to get answers and will allow me to be able to, go through the whole understanding of what is it that I need to do from here. So now, I need you to be present in this moment and be in touch with like your senses and everything that is happening within you. So think of a word or a sound or an image that makes you feel peaceful and tranquil when you think of that thought, when you think of that word, or when you think of that sound. So if you don't have any words, like I'm just gonna actually, these are the words that you can look into. Perhaps when you think of a word being still, instantly you feel a sense of stillness. So that word takes you into that space where you feel that sense of peace. Just take your time and think of a word and connect with that word. So if maybe you don't connect with the word, it could be that to connect with the picture. Maybe there is a picture. When you think of a picture and you see that picture, and that picture takes you through to a sense of peace. If you connect to nature, let's say you see this kind of a picture, and then you imagine yourself walking about, and then you are connecting to the trees, or you are standing at the shore of an ocean and you can actually hear the sound of the ocean and the birds. Like that kind of a picture takes you through into that space of peace. Or a picture that like this, you're standing, and as you're standing there, you are overlooking this like space and you feel so peaceful just by looking at this picture. Or maybe a picture that is showing the sunrise, and in like when you are by yourself and looking at the sunrise and thinking of the feeling that you get when you are looking over you feel the air, you feel the wind, you feel everything that's happening when you look into that picture. So think of those kind of experiences when you look into those kind of pictures and you feel that space of peace, and you feel like, that you just are in serene space that you have from within. And as you're feeling that, hold that thought and hold it and just feel it, experience it. And as you're experiencing that, Sister Pratibha will take us through the whole experience of now. How do you hold that and actually experience that for real? And Sister Pratibha, if you can just maybe take us through the whole experience.
What Lebo has done for us is she's helped us to look at ourselves and see what is it that resonates for us to find that place of inner peace, that inner place of safety. Now we all learn in different ways and we connect in different ways. So the exercise of movement was one aspect. It helped us to feel the peace within as we learn to find our balance. And I think a very key point was that we tend to take our point of balance because of thinking that our security lies outside of us. If we can see it, connect with it, we feel that yes, now I can take that support and so I can feel balance. And then we look at it, see that how when we connect with images or words or sound, how that takes us into a feeling of inner security and peace. So we've been exploring and connecting and resonating with this experience through our senses and through our body. Now I just want you to breathe in deeply and just to know that as I go further and further inwards, withdrawing from my senses and going deeper inwards, beneath the layers, memory, beneath the layers of past experience, beneath how my senses get stimulated by my sight, by my hearing. Moving through, connecting inwardly to that place in myself which is more still and quiet. That there's a part in my being that's untouched by the world. That part of my being which is sacred, which is calm, which is not physical, yet it's a very powerful place in my being of stability, of steadiness. It's my inner sanctuary where I begin to feel safe. It's that part of me that's aligned. It's aligned with my innermost being. So that I feel steady and calm. My inner place of serenity. And just imagine this spot in your being like a vast pool of cool and calm waters, clean and pure. And that's my sacred space inside. And just to know that it's accessible to me whenever I wish to go there. And when I step into this inner space in my being, that I begin to experience that the world around me could be like a storm around me. But I experience that like being in the eye of the storm. where there's light and there's stillness. Just knowing that this part of me cannot be touched by the world. And as I retreat to it, I look at my world with this capacity to observe. I stay centered, knowing that my strength is in me. It's not invested in things outside of me. Everything outside of me moves and changes. But what I am being and what I am is what truly is within me. And so returning to this inner space, returning to this sacred space within me, I remain calm and still and in my power. I am anchored when I return to this place of peace within me. And finding my inner security in this inner space doesn't make me inactive to my outer world, but it gives me the capacity, the ability to respond to my outer world, to have clarity. Because when I am at peace, I'm still, I'm clear, I'm anchored, I am powerful.
Thank you, Sister Pratibha. I think that allowed us to step within and experience our inner world, our inner sanctuary, a space that we have, that we possess ourselves. At any point in given time, I myself can decide to step in and experience that. However, there's something that's happening when that is when you take yourself into that space. It's the mind. So I said to you earlier that you should hold on to a thought or a feeling that you had when you had a thought about a word, a picture, or a sound that allowed you to step in. So please share the kind of experiences that you had when you thought using your mind about that space, which is a word that actually took you to your space of peace, or a picture. Just maybe share with us when that happened, when you saw that picture, or when you thought of a picture that will actually take you into that space. What experience did you have, or what thoughts came to your mind? So any person can share, perhaps.
Shanti,
Shanti.
no matter how troubled I am, when I think about this fountain and I look at the waterfall and that fountain, immediately I am taken away from whatever is disturbing me, and my thoughts are redirected to this beautiful, calm, serene, natural environment, and I can just sort of immerse myself in that at that moment as soon as I think about that.
Don't you feel in control then? Because now you just mentioned that instantly you feel that sense of peace. So you feel like you are in charge now of what is happening within yourself. Even though things could have been happening that you didn't have much control over, but you decided to take yourself through that experience of peace. Thank you so much for sharing that. Any other person?
Hi, it's Lakshmi here. When I say my prayer, when I connect myself to the higher power, I feel, that serene and calm. That takes my trouble away.
It does, it does. It certainly does, because it gives you so much of a break from everything that's happening, and you actually become one with that power. Okay?
Yes. That's what I feel. That's what I feel.
Thank you so much. Any other person? I like the experiences. So with me, I think also when I think of the higher power, the higher source, and I imagine a point of light being the higher power and I connect with that, instantly I just feel so peaceful. I just feel like I don't have anything else that is happening, and it is just a state of being that I'm actually possessing within. And everyone else who is around me now feel like they're getting something out of me, which is that state of peacefulness. So the reason why I actually said, think of a word or whatever that is happening, or whether it's a picture, it's because you used your mind to think of that, or to actually connect with that as well. And the mind doesn't know when there is a no situation. So if things are actually happening and they're chaotic, the mind will still continue to be thinking that way up until you decide to stop and think of a positive thought that will actually move you now to actually feeling centered and positive. So now what I'm actually going to request that we continue to do even after this experience that we had today is to have moments of peace that we create for ourselves, regardless of what will be happening. So from today, you actually count 21 days and you create more for the 21 days that will be coming, that will actually be going into, you create a moment of peace for yourself. At any point, you pause, and you pause with the intention that you are pausing for peace. So what you can do is you can maybe have an hour pause of peace hourly. You can do that hourly, so that you are now creating a space within yourself intentionally, that what will be existing will be peace within you. And because sometimes if we don't take charge, if we don't control what's happening within us, life will actually create that for you. Life will create you to lose your peacefulness. But if you create those, peaceful moments for yourself, then you are entering into that space that you allow yourself as a gift to give it to yourself. So then in retrospect, what I'm trying to say is, for 21 days, get into a habit of pausing for peace, so that after 21 days, it can actually happen without even you having to plan for it. Because sometimes when we create a habit, it takes some time for it to become a habit. And then after 21 days, you can actually find yourself just pausing for peace. Even though when you see something happening, you can just create your own space and pause, and then start again with the whole life, and go on again with everything. So now, after we have done that, Sister Pratibha will take us through to an experience of peace.
Okay, great. So one of the things I just want to highlight, what we've actually illustrated for you this evening, is that many times we wait for something to happen around us, so then we can feel peaceful. How many of us said, oh, I'm very stressed now. When I'm on holiday, then I will relax. So we wait for that moment where we can go for a walk on the beach, or we can go into the forest for a walk or something like that. Those images reminded us moments in nature that naturally took us into a feeling of peace and tranquility. But it's not always possible for us to find that opportunity to go for that walk. I now live in Johannesburg, so there's no beach I can go to. When I was in Cape Town, yes, that was a different story. But it's like our dependency on something outside of us so that we can feel peaceful, so that we can feel centered. We need to recognize that it's not the environment that's creating the experience, but it's how I use my mind and how I keep my internal focus that's giving me the experience. And so what Lebo's encouraging us to do is that in our day, that same feeling that I would have when I'll be walking in the forest or when I would be sitting by a waterfall or whatever, let me learn to generate that feeling without it actually being there. So that I actually learn, in a sense, to create that experience internally and be able to access it internally as often as I wish. And that I'm not dependent on something outside of me to help me create that experience, but that I have the capacity to ignite that experience within me whenever and however I wish. And so that's what we need to cultivate as a practice, because it's not always going to be possible and practical for our environment to induce the experience for us, but we have to self-generate that experience. And that's when we reclaim our power and we reclaim our strength in that regard. We reclaim who we are and how we want to be. So I'm going to invite you into a little experience of meditation now. And it's really about strengthening this practice that, yes, let me turn inwards and let me know that what I have inside of me is that inner capacity to step into that experience. And, you know, peace is not just an experience or a good feeling as we tend to think of it, but actually peace is a power. It's the original quality of the soul. And as a power, it allows for transformation to occur. It allows for creativity, and it allows for stability and clarity. So that's why it's so important to reconnect with it as that power that lies within us. So again, let's take a deep breath. And with my breath, I gently relax my body. And as I relax my body, I sense this quietness growing within me. And I turn my awareness inwards, drawing away from the stimulation of the senses, to finding that inner quietness, that space within of being. I am light. I am a consciousness of peace. Returning to this place of inner solitude and inner stillness, I'm connecting with my deepest power. When I connect with my peace, I'm connecting with my authentic self. When I'm connected to my authentic self, I'm secure. And in that security, I'm anchored in my truth. I'm stable. And so from this deep inner place, I naturally become conscious of the presence of the divine, of a higher source. Because I begin to feel a resonance of peace and love in my inner being and this deeper connection with the higher source of peace, of love. I feel the deeper truth of our inner interconnectedness. And this inner interconnectedness gives a lot of strength and stability to the soul. I begin to feel the reality that I am love and I'm held by love, and that love is the highest expression of the soul. And so peace fills my being with love, and I become whole. I become healed, and I am feeling safe and steady internally. Thank you. Unmute yourself, Lippo.
Thank you, Sister Pratibha, for that. And in closing, I'm going to read for you I think it's a message. We can take it as your personal message. And then this might actually, you can actually keep this with you. It was written by Daddy Janki, and it goes like, take one moment of silence. I have never had the thought that this is a man's world and that we as women cannot succeed. However, in today's world, true success will require constant courage and complete honesty on our part. If you ever do feel afraid or discouraged, here is a secret I would like to share with you. Take just one moment of silence. Go within yourself and evoke your courage. Have the faith that you do have a solution. You do have answers. You do know what must be done. Never let yourself be influenced by what others might be thinking of you. Just turn inwards, imagine the wisdom that is within, and then do something with it. You only need to start with that 1 minute, saying to yourself, okay, let me see what can be done. We are never without solutions for our problems. It's just that sometimes we may have to wait a little, learn how to remain peaceful and patient. The answers will definitely come, and they will come just at the right moment too. So in saying that, I'd like to say goodbye to everyone, and thank you so much for attending this workshop. And I'm hoping that you have actually experienced yourself to tap into that space of peace, and you will continue to doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lebo, for guiding us so beautifully through this evening. And thank you to everyone for joining us. Thanks.
Come, take a ride with me.